Hi, I'm Christine Gillfillin. I'm the Associate Director at Berks Women in Crisis. Welcome to our new series, The Place You Start. I'd like to introduce you to Jay Mahoney, who is one of our board members. Jay is with Gallen Insurance. Jay, you've been involved on the BWIC board for many years. What got you involved with the organization, if you can remember?
I can. I started with BWIC in 2008, and I'm in my third term on the board, which is the third term, second term, one term. Each term, you're off for a year before you're asked to come back on. And I'm very proud of the fact that I've been asked twice to come back on, so that's very gratifying to me. I'll tell you how I really became very passionate about Berks Women in Crisis. It was an unusual situation. As Christine said, I'm an insurance broker, and we handled the insurance for Berks Women in Crisis. And when I first got into the business, many years ago, because that's not my total background, I was taking care of some issues in the safe house, which was in Reading, downtown Reading. And they knew I was coming. They buzzed me in. That's the only way you could get into this safe house. And they had set up an appointment with me to speak to some of the employees about health insurance. And I can recall when I walked in to the location, which was at that point somewhat run down, I have to tell you. And there was no room to sit. There were people, mothers and children, in the main room, crammed onto a couch and whatever chairs were available. And when I looked in the eyes of the children, I could see fear. I could see apprehensiveness. What's going to happen to me? And I walked through fairly quickly, and that stuck with me for a long, long time. I have 4 children. They're all grown, and I have 9 grandchildren. And I still remember the look on their eyes, the children's eyes, as it relates to the situation that they had experienced. They possibly could have been abused themselves, or their mother might have been abused, but whatever the situation was, it was very traumatic. And it really broke my heart, frankly. I mean, I walked out of there and I had a hard time. I sat in my car for a few minutes before I could even start it up to leave. That's where it began. And I said to myself, if there's anything I can do to help out with this kind of a situation, I would. It wasn't a matter of giving back to the community or anything like that. It was just a matter that I had firsthand experience of seeing the eyes of those children. And that's what really got me started in BWIC. And that was in 2008, so it's quite a few years ago. I recently went to a luncheon, and I know Christine was at the luncheon also. And there was a lady there who spoke about a rape that she had endured when she was an 18-year-old student in college. And I have 2 daughters, and I have 5 granddaughters. And I listened to this lady, and the more and more I listened to her, the more and more I became emotional and actually angry. I was emotional because of what she went through, what she endured as far as the rape was concerned. I was angry because the people around her did not support her. The dean of students turned their back, his or her back, I've forgotten whether it was a man or a woman, their back on her. And what really got to me was her father turned his back on her and left her out there to deal with it herself. And I sat there and I thought to myself, if that was my daughter up there, or if that was one of my grandchildren, I would have had a hard time not going up and standing next to them. And I came very close to doing that. I think Christine was at the event, and I did stand up and say a few words. I had to hold myself back because I was going to walk up to this lady and say, there is somebody standing next to you. So the beginning was in 2008, right before 2008 when I saw the children, and it culminated just recently when I had the luncheon. And there's been a lot of incidences in between that really made me feel that what BWIC does is so necessary. The interesting thing about lately, Berks Women in Crisis is getting into the education part of the situation, which I believe is really the answer to a lot of the issues in this country. I've also been a member of the board of directors for the Greater Berks Food Bank. I had 2 terms of president on that board. And in my opinion, even when I was on that board, I felt the key was education. We certainly make sure that we have to take care of the people that are in dire needs, from a food point of view, from an abuse point of view, whatever the case may be at that point in time. But the bottom line is education. So Berks Women in Crisis is now involved in the schools, which I'm thrilled about, because I think a major issue with the schools today is the bullying issue, and in my opinion, bullying leads to abusers. So if a young person, a high school kid, is an abuser, is a bully, he's going to wind up, in my opinion, becoming an abuser. So the education to get the message across to these young people, I think, is extremely important. And I think if we can pursue that, we'll try to minimize the kind of situation that Berks Women in Crisis has to put up with each day. I've been in the safe house at the new location on Chestnut Street, the new building that was put in service about 2 years ago, 3 years ago?
4 years ago, actually.
Time flies. And I can remember we were very involved, and it was a wonderful building. It was so much better than what I had had the experience with downtown Reading and the row home. We were all very, very proud about it, really, what we had accomplished. But the sad story about that, in less than a month, as I recall, it was at full capacity. And I think to this day, Christine can certainly verify this one way or the other, that there are times when there's just no room. So there's a tremendous need for a Berks Women in Crisis. And whatever we can do as a society, we have the responsibility to eliminate abuse. No child or no woman or no person, could be a man also, should have to suffer abuse. And whatever we can do as a society to eliminate that is what we should do. So I can't turn my back on anybody, okay? So you asked me the question, Christine, why am I involved in Berks Women in Crisis? I'm extremely passionate about it. I'm certainly a people person, and I don't care who you are. You do not have the right to anybody to abuse you. So now that I've given you my speech,
Wow.
now, and how I feel about it.
That pretty much sums up your 8 years of being involved with the agency, and you've seen a lot of, as you outlined, you've seen a lot of change and a lot of progress that's been made.
Yes, very much so.
What do you think the biggest contribution is that you've made to the board by being involved?
Oh, that's it, just being involved and doing whatever I can to give ideas and thought and challenging. And it was kind of funny, I told a story about the first time I went on the board. There was only 2 men, myself and a fellow by the name of Jim Gavin, who's an attorney here in Reading. And we were in a boardroom in the old location where Berks Women in Crisis was in downtown Reading. And we're in the boardroom and we're sitting, and he and I are sitting at one end of the table, and the rest of the place was just ladies. And the president at the time was a woman, June Clower was the president. And Gavin leans over to me, he says, "You think it's okay that we're here?" I said, "What do you mean it's okay? Of course it's okay we're here. In fact, there should be more of us here. I want to see more and more men get involved and be aware of the situation." So our board now does have a good amount of men that are totally involved from all parts of the community, and I think that's very important. So I will participate for as long as I can. As long as I have the power of life and breath in me, I'll be involved.
Well, it sounds like it's had a tremendous impact on you personally as well. And so I want to just thank you so much for agreeing to come on the program today and for telling us about why Berks Women in Crisis means so much to you. And also thank you for everything that you do for us.
Well, thank you so much. There's another story I have to tell you, as long as we're in the process here of telling a story, which is we do participate in some of the fundraising. The first year that we had Walk in Her Shoes, which was a great event and still goes on, where men wore the high heels. And I got to tell you, it was kind of funny. We all had high heels on, and I can remember I had a red shirt, white shorts, and a pair of 3-inch spiked red high heels on. The problem was I looked terrific. I had my wife and my daughter with me, and that was the good news, because I tried to walk in those things and I couldn't, so each one had an arm, and they were like walking along with me so I wouldn't fall over. And I gave up some blood for Berks Women in Crisis because one of the heels of the shoes got caught in the mud and caused me to strain my Achilles tendon, which took me 6 months to recover from. I never wore the high heels again. The next time we did it, I wore flats. So
And that's okay.
Yeah.
It takes us years to learn to walk in those heels. So thank you again so much.
Okay.
We really appreciate it. We appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you. It's really an honor. Really is an honor to be involved with this organization who do so many wonderful things.
Thanks.
Okay.
Thank you for tuning in to The Place You Start. We have guests stopping by each week. Check in again for more stories at berkswomenincrisis.org. And be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter.